Hello, everyone. This is the Sage team, and we had the honor of working with the Del Sol family on paper throughout this semester. So, just a little background info about the Del Sol family. We received a referral for their oldest son, Christopher, who is 9, from his teacher at school. Christopher was having behavioral issues at school. He was recently diagnosed with ADHD and was on a trial prescription of ADHD medication. So the parents, Rosa and Miguel, they were arguing a lot. They were having a lot of family disputes, arguing in front of the kids. They also have two younger children who are 18 months and 3 years old. So there was a lot of chaos in that regard. Plus, Miguel was working two jobs. The family only has one car. Rosa, she had to stay at home and she felt really stuck at home. Felt like she was being left to care for the kids by herself. She wanted to work, but her husband Miguel would not let her. So, like on the outside looking in, from the outside looking in, it was really easy to kind of paint Miguel to look like the bad guy. But after we delve into the case, we realized that this family was just struggling from a lack of resources. So they had recently purchased a house. They bought a house, and it was 45 minutes away from where they lived. So a lot of the stress and arguments were resulting around financials because their mortgage payment was so high. As I mentioned, Maria, she can only work one job. Rosa, sorry, Maria is the grandmother. Rosa could only work one job. So yeah. So, what were you guys' thoughts? Like, how did you guys think this process went?
I think this process went pretty good. I think that as in terms of our group overall, I think working together, there's good communication, whether through these meetings or through email. Um, I think we all kind of have similar ideas of how we wanted to help the family. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts.
Yeah, um I guess working as a team, you get kind of nervous about it at first because you're like, my answer is always going to be the right answer, right? But then you mesh yourself together with all of these different ideas and all these other lenses, right? And you find out that you're actually learning something along as you're when you're helping somebody at the same time. Um, I I feel for this family, even though it's like on paper, but I feel for this family because being picked up and just relocated completely to somewhere different, it's a shock and you're just running around like a chicken with its head cut off. Like you don't know where to go, you don't know what's good or what's bad and stuff like that. So you get safe in your home. But this family, they had some issues, they had some arguments, they had some behavioral problems with their children and stuff like that. So I feel for Rosa when she gets emotionally distressed. And I really liked how us as a team could come together and pinpoint the most important things which with each one of these family members and how we can use our skills that we've learned and bring them all together to create this amazing service plan that I think sets them up for a really good success. So that's my feelings on it. I enjoyed working with everybody. I think we all had some great ideas.
Yeah.
I think the part about it, like working together as a group, when we look at it like from the outside, you're coming into it and you're like, okay, just like you said, it's like hard to mash ideas together. But for us, I feel like it was a lot easier. Like we all kind of had the same ideas and we were all willing to look at what somebody said from their point of view as well.
I agree with you guys. We did work well together, and I had missed 2 weeks for a death in the family. But even you guys taking what I did and was able to incorporate it at a later time with what you guys all did, I think that was it worked well for me, and I appreciate it. As far as Rosa in the Del Sol family, you know, moving to a community that you are very unfamiliar with, you have no resources, you have no support system. I'm sure that can be hard and stressful for anyone. Um, I'm not, you know, I think what they could have done possibly to make the transition a little easier was maybe whatever service providers they were working for in their old neighborhood, maybe had talked to them ahead of time to see if they could reach out to service providers in the new community, make referrals so that they could have a little bit of an easier time transitioning.
Yeah, and I like how you guys mentioned that Emily and Keisha, how you guys could relate to some of the family members. Did anyone else like relate to anybody in the family, maybe from like their own personal experiences?
I can relate from like just like the children in the family because my parents got divorced. So before that, it was always the arguing and the yelling and stuff. So in that type of situation, you have to get the parents to start like to stop arguing and come together as one to make it easier on the children as well. Because the children are going to act out, especially if the parents are continuously fighting and arguing.
And personally, for me, I don't come from a divorced household, but I know both of my parents did. So I guess I can relate into the fact that neither one of them wanted to repeat what they experienced. And I know my dad, kind of like Miguel, moved on from his family as soon as he could and had his own issues that he took care of. But just the three of us, I can't really relate, unfortunately, for this case, beyond what I know my parents have gone through. But yeah, I think it's been interesting to learn the different family dynamics that are out there and that will continue to be out here for us to work with.
Yeah, I felt I was so ironically enough, right before this class started, maybe about 2 weeks before we started the semester, I actually just got done finishing family. It was family based therapy, so it wasn't case management. It was actually therapy, and it started with a referral for my son who was having behavioral issues at school. So I definitely connected with this in some aspects, and then like my makeup of well, I'll say his makeup of his family because me and his mom are in separate households, and he spends his time with us equally. So just knowing how that now like how tricky our dynamics was, makes me aware of like how much variety there are within families these days, and then also um when I was reading the chapters, it was like very interesting because like I'm like, oh wow, like my therapist did that, my therapist did this, my therapist did that, my therapist did this. And he like checked all the boxes and he was really great and I had a great experience. And I'm like, oh well, this is why he's like following the textbook to a T. So I mean that was like it was like kind of a cool experience in that way.
Um, So my oldest son, he's 29 now, but he was Christopher when he was younger. Um, he was acting out, had all sorts of behavioral issues, and I believe it could have been because of he was witness to the situation same as Christopher with the arguing, the yelling, the name calling. So I definitely can relate to that, because kids not don't know always know how to express themselves, and Christopher, like my son, expressed himself through his behavior, while it was not the right thing to do, but he did it. But my son also excelled at sports like Christopher did, but that was his outlet. And by being part of a team, that taught him a different way. It showed him how to get along with others and how to become more social, how to become social in a positive way versus acting out to get the attention that you're seeking.
I want to hear everybody's final thoughts on what we think about working with one another and how we think we did. I can talk about it first. I enjoyed working with all of you. I learned a lot from each one of you, and it's information that I will take with me forever. I never worked with families like this before, and even though it's like on paper, like it's real, like the skills that we used are real. So I just want to thank you guys for being great communicators, and we listen to each other. So that's something very important, I think, in this field, is listening to one another, because we all know something, right? We don't go to school and learn this stuff to forget it. We take with what we learn. So whoever wants to share on their final thoughts, we can wrap up our
I'll just
debrief.
second that real quick. It's been a pleasure working with all you guys. I've had a lot. I've been in my fair share of groups now throughout social work, and some of them were a little bumpy. Not gonna lie. But this one, the first word that comes to mind, it was easy. And I think you hit it in the head when you said communication. Emily, I want to thank you for kind of like assuming the administrator role of the group, putting all of our documents together. But with that being said, we all contributed. Nikisha even hit it on the head. Like the week she wasn't here, but she was submitting work to us into our folder throughout that week. Whenever an email would go out, people were responding right away. So you guys made it easy. You guys are all great and have wonderful ideas. And thank you.
I'll go next. I definitely have been through a lot of groups, and this group was definitely the best out of all of them. We were all able to bring our thoughts together, and instead of just like turning one away, we somehow included it with all of our family service plan. So each one of us had an input on that family service plan, and that is definitely great. And that's something that I never actually had in any other group. Usually it was just like, oh, okay, we'll do this with this one with that one. But no, like we included everybody, no matter if they were here or not. And I just like working with you guys, and I like this group. And thank you all. And definitely the communication was great.
Yeah,
I agree with everything that was said. Again, thank you, Emily. I appreciate everything you've done. I appreciate all of you guys for all that you have done, and especially being patient. Um, yeah, that's my final thought.
yeah, I was gonna agree with you guys that I think communication was still great. I think it was kind of nice that Emily had us learning Canva, which I never used before.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of skills in this course that I didn't particularly have a name for, didn't exactly know, was great to learn within the group setting. But I'm pretty happy with how everything turned out.
Awesome. All right, that concludes our debrief. Thank you for watching, and I hope you were entertained. Goodbye.